My name is Jessie Young, and I have been the director and / president of the Community Baboon Sanctuary since 1998. The group consists of members of an elected woman from each of the 7 villages that comprise the CBS. We hold annual general meetings. We have our bylaws or memorandum of understanding that we operate by. Community Baboon Sanctuary was established on February 23rd, 1985 by a primatologist from Gainesville, Wisconsin, Dr. Robert Howich. And after doing research in Mexico and Guatemala, he found out that Belize had some monkeys. He saw a film done by Richard and Carol Foster in the same community here on the monkeys, and so that brought him to Belize to study the monkeys, and soon found out that we had monkeys in Guatemala and Costa Rica. And so he went around the community. Then he found this local guy who was the chairman of the community at the time. It's like the little government that runs the affairs of the village. His name was Young. And so they went around to the communities, telling them about an idea about a sanctuary. And at that same very first village meeting, 12 landowners from this community signed up. Which then went around with Young to the other communities, and they all had other landowners signed up. And so today we have like 240 members. Mr. Young was very instrumental, being the first manager of the sanctuary in getting the people to sign on to the pledges. I guess it was his personality of knowing how to work with people, and so people readily signed on to it. Since then, it was managed by Belize Audubon Society in the first years, but later on in 1995, due to financial constraints, the Belize Audubon Society could no longer administer the affairs, and so local committees were formed. And again, Mr. Young thought that that was the best thing, and so he went around and encouraged people to form a committee, and so the sanctuary has been managed by local committees since then. It was usually by men, and then in 1998, the sanctuary had its share of problems, and so Mr. Young decided that why don't you form a women's group and try to take over the affairs of the sanctuary. And I said, you know what, that is a very good idea. And so I did, and I called a meeting in different communities, and people agreed, and that was how the Women's Conservation Group that is managing the sanctuary today got started. That was in 1998, and we are still here today. We have our share of problems like any other conservation organization, I guess, but we have been able to achieve a lot for the communities, the landowners. We soon realized that if the community is not benefiting in some way or the other, conservation will be useless in the later run. So we decided to embark on some more meetings with our communities and ask them like questions like what would you like to see the CBS do for you? And they came up with different project ideas, and so we did the proposal. We got the funding for alternative livelihoods, such as tilapia farming, backyard tilapia farming, which is really environmentally friendly because where the ponds are located, it's not near any waterways where runoffs will be going into the river, and the water that they use from the pond, they use to fertilize their vegetables, so they have organic vegetables growing right around their ponds. We did organic chickens,
We buy the same vegetables, the corn that the farmers farm. We bought those to feed the chickens, and so they are grown organically. We have we did pigs as well for some of the farmers. So totally there is like 45 families that have benefited from those projects in this area. We have also did a number of trainings for landowners, like in land management practices and good farming practices, the effects of slash and burn and the shifting of agriculture. And so we have been empowering our people. We do like an annual summer program for 150 kids. We do like scholarships to the needy children in the that goes to the BRHS or maybe in Belize City. And I'm proud to say that even though it's not a lot of money, 90% of the income that comes into the CBS just passes through our hands, because it goes directly to the communities for services such as tour guiding, bed and breakfast, catering for food, rental of canoe, rental of horses, etc. So those monies just pass through our hands. And so I'm proud to say that the community, it's really a community effort, and they're benefiting from this project. Because we depend on tourism for everything here. We are not getting any subsistence from government or anyone, so we depend solely on the entrance fee that is paid here for our survival. And during the months of like from May to October, many times our staff work for no pay at all. They just volunteer their time, and with the recession and the global economy problems right now, it's very hard for somebody to just volunteer their time, because then they have their family to feed, and so it's becoming very difficult. And as a community-based organization, I'm one of the oldest in Belize. I have been speaking to other CBOs, and they are facing the same problem as we do, and so we have to try and find an avenue out of this, and how we could try to sustain at least the project managers so that the projects can continue. So that's a challenge for us that we need to do down the road. We have also been like the mother organization over smaller CBOs within the River Valley. The Dauntless Designers Women's Group in Doublehead Cabbage, we have been able to access funding for them through the Global Environmental Facility and the UNDP. So they do food preservatives, they do embroidery. You could get a nice pair of bed covering with a wildlife or a bird or a monkey embroidery in it. They do yoga bags from recycled stuff. And then the Flowers Bank Community Group, they are starting to construct a cocoon mill to process cocoon oil in Flowers Bank. And so that's our goal for every community that are members of the CBS to have their own little projects going on within their communities in order to sustain them. So that's the goal that we are working on. We have recently completed a marketing plan that includes all the communities in the Belize River Valley, including Rancho Dolores and Limonal, because they border, Limonal borders Crooked Tree Wildlife Sanctuary, and Rancho they have their own wildlife sanctuary there, but they are young, and so we are kind of taking the leadership role and assisting them. And so now we need to find money to implement that marketing plan, and so that's where we are with that. And these plans have been identified by the community themselves. We just incorporate them and do them. So if we could find funding to implement that plan, that would be a good thing. I'm also looking at seeking funds for a commercial market in one central location where the farmers, the entrepreneurs, everybody could come out and sell their products. Like maybe Tuesday, Thursday, it's Belize River Valley Market Day. Everybody will bring their stuff here and we will do the promotion and everything for them so that they could sell their stuff there. So that's another project that we are working on as well. It's kind of difficult for CBOs like us to find funding because we cannot go to the banks. The banks will not lend groups like us money. So we depend really on grants, on funding agency out there to support us with those kind of funding. So we have also started a scholarship fund in the name of Jessie Young. We really wanted to have it already by this school year that will be starting in September, the new school year, but unfortunately there was a lot of little things to do to get it set up. Like you had to get the legal part of it done, the board of directors who will sit on it and all those things, and I think time really rode upon us. So we will definitely be focusing on that this year and see how much we can grow that fund so we could assist students mainly in natural resource management from this area. So we want to keep his name alive. He has done so much for conservation. So. I was at a workshop yesterday for CBOs, and it was the Protected Area Conservation Trust, which was designed for protected areas management, and they wanted to know how they could assist the CBOs. So I think that might be a positive way in finding funding for protected area managers in CBOs, because like as we said in Belize, like the larger NGO, they do a better job at policies and focus mainly on conservation, while the community-based organization that lives in the community have to do the groundwork and live with the people there. So it's very critical for us as CBOs, because we live in the community and we know the needs of the community. And so I think it's an area even the government of Belize now is focusing on community-based organization, not only in conservation but in other areas, to see how they could empower more of them to carry out the programs and projects of the The Women's Conservation Group, we meet monthly, and so when we come to the table, the respective representative go back to their community and they bring whatever is the issue or the problems, whatever, to the table when we meet again, and so we see how we can address those, and so we meet regularly to try and address.
Over here you could take a look at our country national tree, which is a mahogany tree, and it takes about 75 to 100 years for a mahogany to reach its maturity. At that point, mahogany should be carrying buttresses roots up to about 6 foot 6 tall.
In the inception of the sanctuary, the little pledges that were presented to the landowners was to like leave strips of property between their, like a boundary between their properties when they were like clearing for milpa or so on. Say for example, if you live 66 feet and I leave 66 feet, that would form enough pathway for the monkeys to roam freely, and not only the monkeys, other wildlife. Again, this was one of Mr. Young's idea. When the road was constructed, monkeys were being killed either by dogs or by cars coming in. And so he said, I wonder if we could maybe try and build like a aerial bridge across the road. Maybe that would help the monkeys. And so he designed it and everything with ropes, and it worked perfectly, not only for the monkeys. It took them a while to use it, but they eventually started to use it. And so we even saw the Kinkanju using it one night. So it was, other wildlife use it as well. So that was a good thing. But now it's the sanctuary is not making enough money to maintain those things. So we had like little footbridges on the trails, but they are in need of repairs. Monkey bridge need to be put in different locations, and some need to be repaired. Because further down the road, if you would go, I just saw a dead monkey that was hit by a car going to the second bridge. And so there is really a need for other bridges to be placed in different locations, but the funding is just not there for them. And also we have asked the landowners to like not clear cut the riverbanks for erosions, and even their crops would lose that topsoil, and they would get poor yields. So to leave the forest along the riverbank, not to cut the trees the monkeys use for food, and little things like those were what they signed on to when they were asked to sign the pledge for the monkeys.
Now in front of us here, you could take a look at the monkey crossing, see? So this little ladder here was built for the purpose of the monkeys to get across to the other part of its habitat, okay? It was split into two, yeah. Yeah, and they'll be coming across this sooner or later. Let me see if I find a super monkey in here, and as soon as I find them, I'll see if I get them to just make it across in front of your eyes so you could see them, okay? I'll be going right in here.
Take you like about $150 for one, that's just for the rope to be put across the road. And then you have to get the poles, which will cost you about like $20 each. So that's like 4 poles, and the rope is like $150. The little pieces of sticks you can get. People usually volunteer their time to help. In fact, I think they got fun in building bridges, so it's only the materials. But for right now, I think we have identified like 20 bridges that we need to really put in, not only in this community, but in other communities. So.
Come on, come. If you notice, they all uses their prehensile tail, which works like a fifth hand to their body, and this is what helps them stabilize it within the limbs of trees, and also to reach further for food. Troop normally ranges from 2 up to 11. And the way troop are made up, it's of 1 dominant male, maybe having 2 or 3 wives. The others will be sub-adult, juveniles, and infant babies. After a male or a female reaches maturity and ready for mating, they will be forced out of the troop by the dominant male. They got to go find themselves a mating partner and establish themselves a territory. Male reaches maturity within the age of 5 to 7, female from 3 to 5 years.
Because we constantly have to repair them. I think a bridge, if it's made with the right rope, because what happened, we had to use smaller ropes because it's cheaper. But if it's used with the right rope, you can have it for 8-9 years. One bridge would last that long. Yeah, so. It's very terrible when you would find like a dead monkey hit by a car, and the people are so concerned because people would come all the way here and said, you know what, I saw a dead monkey down the road, it was hit by a car, and you know, so people are concerned about the monkeys, what happened to them here. So I'm sure the community would come out and help with the bridge. It's not a problem to build it, it's just the materials.
What happened before you built the bridge here?
Two of the juveniles, they were killed by dogs because they were forced to use it to ground. So I built the bridge and I hang it up across here now, and they use it to go back and forth, so we have no more accidents again.
I'm just happy also to say that today we still have like 90% of the farmers still abiding by their management pledge that they had signed. We have seen people stop doing milk panel. In several of the communities, there are only a few people still doing their little slash and burn. We have had like the crested guan that is back in the CBS. We have the ocellated turkey that is back in the CBS. Not much, but they were spotted. And so those were extinct here, but now they are coming back. So that's a good sign. They're really doing a good job at it. So it's good to encourage them. So as incentives, that's why we try to do these alternative livelihood projects to encourage them, you know, to want to conserve more.